Okay, so what we're about to get into, it sounds like it's straight out of a spy movie. But here's the thing. It's all based on real-world shadow wars that have been going on for decades. We're going to break down this incredibly plausible and frankly terrifying intelligence operation and dig into the secret history that set the whole stage.
So we're jumping right into the middle of the action. I mean, in media res, as they say. We're starting with an event so huge, so bold, it would completely flip the script on the balance of power in the Middle East, literally overnight.
Okay, picture this. It's early morning. A single fighter jet lifts off from some secret, off-the-books Israeli airbase. This thing is carrying missiles that are so ridiculously precise they could hit a specific dining room table from, over 1,000 kilometers away? And the pilot? They've got one job. Just one. Incredibly high-stakes objective.
And the mission briefing? You couldn't get any clearer. Step 1. Fly for hours and somehow penetrate Iranian airspace without anyone noticing. Step 2. Find a very specific building on Pasteur Street in Tehran. Step 3. Strike at exactly 9:50 a.m. Not a minute sooner, not a minute later. And Step 4. Get back to base without a scratch. I mean, there is zero, and I mean zero, room for error.
So you're probably asking, what's so important about this one building? Well, it's not the building itself, it's who's inside. And it's everyone, the entire command structure of the Iranian state. You've got the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, sitting down with all his top dogs, civilian and military. For the people planning this isn't just another mission. This is the whole enchilada. A once-in-a-generation shot to, cut the head off the snake in one single, decisive blow.
And boom, the strike is a success. A devastating success. The surprise is total. No one saw it coming. In literally a single moment, it's not just the supreme leader who's gone. It's 40 of Iran's most powerful people. We're talking top commanders of the Revolutionary Guard, key ministers, all eliminated. Just like that, the entire state is thrown into absolute chaos.
Which, of course, brings us to the real question. The one you're probably thinking right now. How on earth did they do it? How did they know? I mean, how do you pinpoint the exact location of the most heavily protected man in Iran at the exact moment he has his entire inner circle with him, and do it all without anyone getting suspicious? How is that even possible?
Well, to answer that, we've got to peel this thing back like an onion. This was no lucky shot, not even close. This was the end result of a huge, incredibly complex intelligence network that took years, maybe even decades, to build.
Okay, so the secret sauce here, the core of the whole operation, is something called pattern of life analysis. It sounds technical, but the idea is actually pretty simple. You study a target's daily routines, every single little habit, using massive amounts of data. The goal is to know that person so well, so intimately, that you can predict what they're going to do next, even before they know it themselves. You basically know them better than their own security detail.
So how do you build that kind of detailed picture? It's a combination of things. For more than 10 years, intelligence agencies had eyes inside Tehran. They'd hack the city's traffic cameras. They were also buried deep inside Iran's mobile phone networks, just vacuuming up call records, location data, you name it. Then you have powerful computers, algorithms, sifting through all this data, looking for anything out of the ordinary. But here's the kicker, the final piece of the puzzle, a person. A human source, right there in Khamenei's inner circle, ready to give the final go-ahead.
All right, so with all that intel locked and loaded, the operation itself really stood on three main pillars. First, you absolutely have to confirm the target is not in his super secure underground bunker. That's a no-go if he is. Second, you have to create a tiny surgical communications blackout. You disable a few specific cell towers right around the target, just long enough to prevent a last-second warning call, but not long enough to make everyone panic. And third, the strike package itself. Using these long-range Sparrow precision missiles fired from so far away they're well outside the reach of Iran's air defenses.
Now, it's super important to understand that an operation this big doesn't just happen. It didn't come out of nowhere. This was really the explosive climax of a shadow war that's been fought in secret for decades. A war of sabotage, assassinations, and spies.
I mean, just look at the last 10 years or so. Back in 2010, you had the Stuxnet virus, a piece of malware that wrecked over 1,000 of Iran's nuclear centrifuges. A couple years later, you have assassins on motorcycles slopping magnetic bombs onto the cars of nuclear scientists. Fast forward to 2018, and Mossad agents pull off this insane heist, stealing 1/2 ton of secret nuclear documents from a warehouse in Tehran. And then in 2020, they assassinate Iran's top nuclear scientist with a remote-controlled AI-powered machine gun mounted on a truck. You see the pattern here? This isn't random. It's a relentless, sustained campaign.
The level of infiltration got so deep, so pervasive, that this grim joke started making the rounds online, and our source material actually points this out. The joke goes, when 3 Iranian leaders meet, 2 of them are Mossad agents. Now, it's a joke, but it really says everything about how people saw the reach of Israeli intelligence. It felt like they were everywhere.
So that begs the question, right? Where did all of this start? This deep-seated animosity? To really get it, to understand why things are the way they are now, we have to rewind the clock. We have to go way back to one specific crucial moment in time, 1953.
And this is where the source material we're looking at highlights what it calls a huge irony in American foreign policy. Think about this. In 1953, the U.S. objective was to topple a democratically elected leader in Iran. Today, the official line is that the U.S. wants to support a democratic movement there. So what gives? How do you square that circle?
Okay, so here's the story of 1953. Iran had a democratically elected prime minister. His name was Mohammad Mossad. And he did something huge. He nationalized the country's oil industry, which basically meant taking it back from the British. Well, Britain and the US weren't having that. So the CIA launched something called Operation Ajax. They started funding street protests, they bribed politicians, they ran a whole propaganda machine to make Mossad look like a communist threat. And it worked. The coup succeeded, they kicked him out, put the Shah back in power, and he ruled as a US-backed dictator for the next 26 years.
And all that anger, all that resentment against this foreign-backed dictator, it just simmered for decades, until it finally exploded. The 1979 Islamic Revolution didn't just pop up out of thin air. It was a direct reaction to that 1953 coup and the quarter-century of oppressive rule that came after it. You could say it's the original sin of this whole conflict, a historical wound that for many has never really healed.
Which brings us right back to where we started, back to the present day, in the aftermath of our hypothetical strike, and into what looks like a very, very unsettling new chapter in this long conflict.
And it's here that the source material we're analyzing makes a really sharp point. It argues that for all the talk about supporting democracy and the Iranian people, that's not really the end game for the U.S. The argument is that what America really wants isn't a genuinely independent democracy, but a government it can control, a remote-controlled government that will just serve U.S. interests in the Middle East.
And the fallout from an operation like this is just massive, because now the playbook is out there for everyone to see. This whole method, mixing cyber warfare, that deep pattern of life analysis, and surgical precision strikes, it's no longer secret. You can bet that intelligence agencies all over the world are taking notes right now. They're going to study this, and they're going to copy it. The rules of engagement in this shadow war have fundamentally changed.
And all of this leaves us with one final, very heavy question. Let's say you succeed. You take out a brutal dictator. But does that ever actually lead to long-term peace? Or are you just planting the seeds for the next war, the next cycle of revenge and violence? There's really no easy answer to that, is there? And that very question, well, it pretty much defines the shadow wars of our time.